Grammar and language. Why? Because grammar for me probably means something a little bit different to what oh yes, okay. Can I just put this on because I just had one of those things. My pocket okay? Do you touch it there? Testing 1, 2, 3, 1. Fantastic. Great, good to go. Okay, let's start again. I've lost my focus. Where was I? Grammar for me means probably something a little bit different to what grammar means to most of the people. For me, I teach grammar. I've been teaching it for the last 18 years, mostly in the UK, in America, and a lot of other southern hemisphere countries like China, Malaysia, Iran, and places like that. As I look at this idea of grammar, I sympathize with most of my students because this is like a subject that is sort of strange. You try to learn grammar. It looks very easy on the books. You get the grammar books. You can understand them. They're fine. You know what nouns are. You know what adjectives mean. You know all of those things. You look at these books and they don't help. Nothing comes from these books. We get a little improvement in one or two of the things, but we don't get this development of grammar. And the reason why we don't get them is because we look at grammar as being something completely separate. And that is why we have these problems with grammar, English grammar. Now, the idea of language is something a little bit different to grammar. But a lot of people don't look at language when they are looking at grammar, and they don't really look at grammar when they are looking at language. They seem to split these two subjects up, and then they are introduced to a new word called vocabulary, and that becomes like a separate science. It's like biology and physics and chemistry, three different subjects. We should remember that this is all science, and all three of those are integrated into that one thing. Let's talk about language. If we want to improve our language skills, we need to develop language. That's what we need to do. When I see students going to do medicine in a university, they study medicine. If they are studying physics, they go for physics. They know what they are going to study. They can feel it. They know when they have got it. But when you are going to study grammar, how do you know that you got it? If you study it, how do you know what it is? Is it a study of nouns, adjectives, verbs, prepositions, infinitive, participles? Is it tense structures? Is it simple? What exactly is this grammar? Once you understand what we mean by grammar, it becomes a lot more easier to know if we got it or not. Over the next 3 modules, I'm going to be covering the subject of grammar. But I'm going to be covering it in a completely different way to what you have ever covered before. I'm going to take a look at this idea of grammar, and over the next 8 hours that I have with you, I'm going to teach you everything that you could possibly learn about grammar. Your job is just to pay attention and just do some of the exercises that I ask you to do. After 4 weeks, you will be absolutely devastated at what you have learned. I give you my guarantee. Why? because I've had it for the last 17 years, and you people are no different. I have taught grammar to Chinese people who can hardly speak English, and after 3 months, they will speak in English, and you will never believe that they were in that situation. Why? Because we simplify things. The problem with grammar is that we've taken it as a separate subject to be studied, and that is where we all go wrong. Let's start from the beginning. Grammar is a part of language. That's why I call it grammar and language. I cannot separate grammar from language. Grammar is a part of language, and language is grammar. So let's begin to think of this as not as grammar. Let's think of this as language. That will help us. And what is a language? Well, you speak a language. You may speak Sinhalese, Tamil. I speak Arabic. I do not speak Sinhalese. I don't know anything about Sinhalese. I only know 2-3 words. Eka, deka, how to buy a packet of cigarettes when I go to the shop, how to get a couple of bottles of liquor when I need it. I know how to communicate more than that. The other 3 words or 4 words that I know, honestly, I don't want to tell you because you'll be very upset with them. I got them from special place. What is language? Language is the way that I talk to you, that I communicate a message to you. That's it, nothing else. But when I communicate that message, if I go to the shops and I want to buy 2 coconuts, and my wife sometimes, she sends me to the shop. Now, when I go to the shop, I will just point at what I want and then say 2. I can say deka now, so the deka, that. And the man, he knows I can't speak, so he will choose them for me and he will give them to me. That is communication. That is also a language. I get my message to him, he gets the message back, he tells me how much. I don't know how much it is, but I'll just stick my money in front of him, and he's an honest person. He takes away, he gives me the change. That is communication. So I can communicate with Sinhalese people. But you know, if he didn't have a coconut in the shop, and I couldn't point anywhere, then I am in serious trouble, because I've got to now say, you know, things up on the tree that you go up and make the picture. Now, that man is going to have a lot of problems with me, because he's not going to understand. I can't come out with the words, even if I could. They just don't sound right. And I would have many, many problems. That is when communication is broken. A language is a system of using spoken sounds. We put the sounds together to make words. We put the words together to make a sentence, and that sentence is a message that we give. When I ask you, how are you? You will say, I'm fine, Mr. Rana, and how's things with you? That is communication started. You listen to me, you reply to me, I reply to you, you get the information. We use those sounds, and we use those alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F. We put the alphabet together to make a word, and then we put the words together to make a sentence. That is a message of the language. Why do we do it? To express ourselves, to say what we want, what we need. But it is a little bit more than that, not just to do that. Let's just take a look at this system. This word system is, I beg your pardon, more cigarettes. These system is different for different cultures, different countries, different people around the world. Here we do Sinhalese, Tamil. In England we speak English. In Arabic parts of the world we have an Arabic system. So we all have these different systems of communicating. And each system has their own set of rules. And we'll be looking at those rules when it comes to grammar. But let's just look at the purpose of language. Why do we need it? It is just for this, nothing else. The only reason we use language is to communicate. We communicate our messages, our imaginations, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our desires, our respect, our hatred, our love, our anger, our emotions. That's what sentences are for. Communication is to tell other human beings our message and to take the message from them and to respond to that message. That is all we need to know. Now, how do we do this communicating? Well, we do it in 4 ways. We either speak or we listen to somebody else speaking. Please come on in. We either write something down or we read what somebody else has written down. So it's speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Those are the 4 ways that we communicate the language. Now, in this course that we are doing, we're going to be concentrating more on the speaking side and a little bit, well, we're not going to miss these out, but you see how the speaking integrates with the other 4. So if we focus mainly on the speaking, you can get a very clear idea of how those same techniques apply to the writing and the reading and the listening. So those are the 4 ways that we communicate. And here we're going to be dealing with the English language. So we're looking at how we communicate in the English language using these 4 communication methods. Let's have a look. When we speak, I speak to you in sentences, not in sounds. Those sounds are put together and then they make words, and then the words are put together to make a sentence. When you listen to somebody else, you will be listening to somebody else's sentences. And when we write in sentences. And when we read newspapers, books, we read sentences. Common sense will tell us that communication is all about sentences. Everything is about the sentence. Nothing can be deeper than that. If you just bear that in mind, put it in your hearts and in your heads, that all we are doing is getting involved in sentences. Language is sentences. There are different sentences for Sinhala, Hindi, but language is sentence. That's all it is. Language is about sentences. Good language, good sentences. Poor language, poor sentences. Bad language, bad sentences. Academic language, academic sentence. Artistic language, artistic sentences. Beautiful language, beautiful sentences. That's how it works. All you need to understand is sentences is language. So don't worry about the English language. Start to worry about the English sentences. That's what grammar, that's what language is all about. It is about sentences. Good language has correct sentences. Correct in a grammatical way, in the way that the system organizes it. It also has clear description. So if you want good language, if you want beautiful academic and spoken English, you need to have grammatically correct sentences, and that is not all. You have to have clear description in your sentences. And this, the purpose of this is that, so if you describe to me your laptop, you have to describe it in a way that I can make a picture in my mind. When we talk to each other, we create pictures in their head. That's what we do. And the more detail that we put in the sentence, the clearer the picture becomes. And that is what communication is all about. When you tell me something, you are trying to make a picture in my head. And if the grammar is incorrect, that picture is going to be out of focus. It will, if the technical side, if there is no description, it's going to mean nothing to me. Let's just move on. Where does the grammar fit in all of this? Well, first of all, we've got to know what grammar is. Grammar is just a set of rules that tells us which way the words go in that sentence. Remember, everything is about sentence. Grammar tells us where the words should be, how the words need to be changed, how they need to be spelled. That's it. Once you grab those ideas, we are in a position to take off. It's a set of rules. Grammar is a set of rules that show how words are used in a sentence. Nothing more, nothing less. Do not worry about technical definitions. Just remember, it's a set of rules to tell us where this word can go, where it can't go, and how it's going to be spelled. That's it. Nothing more than that. Is grammar important? Without grammar, you don't have language. It doesn't make any sense. There is a system, and that system tells us that this word can be here, this one can't be used, this one needs to be changed, and you can't have this with this one. That's the rules. If you break those rules, you don't have language. So really, grammar equals language equals sentences. It creates clearer communication. Grammar helps me to understand. If my wife, and she's Sinhalese, sometimes she sends me to the shop, and sometimes I will have to buy something. Now, sometimes she writes it down. So when I go to the shop, I give them the piece of paper, they look at it and they give me, and then that's it. But sometimes when she said quickly, when I say, I'm going to the shop, my darling, I'm just going to get some cigarettes or something, and she'll say, get some tomatoes, get 3 or 4 green chilies, and just get something else. Now, what do I do? If I can't see those things in a shop, there is no way I can describe to the shopman green chilies. I don't know what the word is for green. I don't know how to say it's this much. You put it in and what do I do? You cannot do that. I need even if I had the words, even if she told me the words, my grammar would make the message not clear to the shopman. Grammar is very, very important. Without grammar, you don't have a language. What do you have? You don't have English. You have what I call gibberish. And gibberish, where I come from, it means rubbish. That's what it is. Because if we make mistakes in grammar at a professional level, they can be very, very expensive mistakes. Last month, somebody from MIT, where I teach, made one small comma mistake. It cost nearly 14 million rupees, and one female lost her job at MIT. That's what happens. If we have poor grammar, if the grammar is weak, and then it changes the meaning of our message. So if I say, you dance, come go with me on tomorrow, and it doesn't really have any meaning. All the words are correct, they are there, but they're just in the wrong place, and that changes the meaning of the sentence. It leads to confusion. It leads to a lot of confusion, and this confusion will disrupt our communication. It will keep disrupting our communication. That's the point. But if you have good grammar, what does it do? Well, number one, it shows your competence. It shows that you have ability to express ideas that are beyond buying 2 coconuts, a little bit more complicated than that. It improves your skill of expression. It allows you to talk about your thoughts, your emotions, how you feel, complex ideas, complex projects. It allows you to express with clarity. It allows you to deal with financial accounts. It allows you to deal with science. In any kind of management field, it allows you to express your ideas clearly. It saves time. But this, for me, is the most important thing. It gives you credibility and respect. People with poor grammar, they have a little bit lower level of credibility. It just happens. If you have correct grammar, you go for a job interview, I guarantee the one with the better grammar will get the job. It's always the same. It gives you an edge over competitors that allows you to move along the corporate ladder to get better and better. That's what English is all about. Now, good language, I've said it before, it comes from only this, sentences. But sentences that are grammatically correct, not normal. I'm not talking about any kind of sentence. They have to be grammatically correct. So, there it is. You need language, you need to develop your grammar, and you need to look at sentences. Are there any questions? How do we develop grammar? How do we get it inside us? How do we get it here? Well, you can... I'm going to get some water in a bit. You can study grammar. Yes, you can study grammar. But I've already said, there is it's not going away. I've got a frog stuck in there. I've got to get rid of this frog. Just give me 1 second. Let me get some water. Go down. Go down. There we go. How do we develop grammar? Well, we can study grammar. We can buy a book, a nice big book. In the book, very nice, good ones at this Siri shop. Beautiful little books on grammar, nouns, pictures, adjectives. But the only problem with studying grammar from a book is that it doesn't work. That's the only problem. It never ever works. If you want to try it, you can try it. I brought a book about 6 years ago. Nice, beautiful book. The reason I brought it is not because I need it. No. My grammar is absolutely perfect. I have PhD level grammar in English. My grammar can never be faulty. But I brought this book because it looked so nice. It had a beautiful cover. It was nice and thick, and it was on offer. So it was normally 7,000. Nobody wanted to buy it, and I know why. Nobody wants it. So I brought it for 3,000. I looked at it. The first page is all about nouns. Second page was about nouns. And the first 17 pages were all about nouns. Collective nouns, abstract nouns, concrete nouns, group nouns, collective nouns, proper nouns. It's just nouns, 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 nouns. On page 23, it started to move to adjectives. And from page 17, 23 onwards, it was 33 pages of adjectives. That is when I decided this book is no good to me. I took it, I put it on top of the cupboard, you know, my bedroom. I put it on top there, somewhere right at the back, you know, where I can't see it. It's still there. Nobody's touched it. If anybody wants to study grammar from a book, I will give you that book. You can keep it free of charge. The book is this thick. The dust on top of the book is about this thick. So if you want it, give me at least 2-3 days notice. I'll wipe away all the dust and I will come and give it to you. I guarantee you that you will look at it for 3 days and then you will find a nice big cupboard and in your bedroom, and you are going to stick it there until you find some other fool who will take it off you, because it's quite heavy as well. Can we study grammar? Yes, we can. We can get onto the internet. There's a lot of little courses. There's a lot of free stuff from the British Council. And Jesus, I've got to stop smoking. One of these days, I'm going to stop smoking. I keep promising myself. I can pull that off from the camera. Listen, we can study grammar. You can study. It will take you 9 years if you want to go through a grammar course. If you want to learn every single name of the infinitive, the past participle, the progressive continuous principle, and this principle, and that. You know, I don't even know what those names mean. And I teach grammar at what I call graduate level, University of Salford in Manchester. I can't even remember those names. I don't know what they mean. And where I come from, I've never been to a grammar class. If I take you all to London now and you go to the airport, you will see little children, 3 years of age, 2.5 years of age, 4 years of age. And if you listen to their English, you'll think, my God, how beautiful they speak. And they do. Wonderful, perfect, absolutely perfect grammar. And I tell you, not one of those children has ever been to a grammar class. The reason why my grammar is perfect is maybe because I didn't go to a grammar class. That's why it's perfect. Those children, they don't know what a noun is. They don't know what an adjective is. They don't know what grammar is. If you ask one of those children what is grammar, they will tell you it is my mother's mother. That's what they call grammar. That's my grandma. And they don't know what grammar means, but their grammar is perfect. Why is it perfect and they don't study it? Because they don't study grammar. They just develop their language. That's what they do. They develop their sentences. And we seem to have forgotten that. We need to develop our sentences. You need to develop your language. Stop focusing. Look, when you have a car, you just need to know how to start the thing. You need to know how to change the gears, how the indicators work. You need to know where to go when the petrol finishes. That's it. You don't need to know what the amp of the battery charge is, where it goes to the alternator, what happens to the piston, what happens to the spark plug. That's not your business. When you press the foot on the brake, you know this is going to slow down the car. Hi, come on in. It is going to slow down the car. All we need to know is which one to press to make it go fast, which one to press to make it go slow. We don't need to know that when I put my foot on the brake, that will push a liquid, that liquid goes into this tube, that pushes that, increases the pressure, then the drum pads on the bike. See, that's nonsense. You just need to know how to drive it. And that is what it's for. You don't want to be a motor mechanical engineer. That's not the purpose. You just want to get the car from A to B. So when you get involved in the technicalities of the language, you have stopped learning how to drive, but you are an expert on how those pistons are going up and down in one of the cylinders. Who cares about the pistons? When the engine is gone, you take it. All you need to know is how to drive it. And that is the approach that you should use when it comes to developing English. Stop the technical little things and get on with developing the language. If you get involved in the grammar, I swear to you, I swear 100% that not only will your language stop, you'll develop, but also you'll become very, very bored with this. The whole thing becomes tedious, it becomes complex, it becomes boring. It becomes far too boring and it becomes far too complicated. And the whole enjoyment of developing your English, your tone, your intonation, the rhythm, the stress patterns, all of those things will start to die down, but you will know what is the continuous active infinitive participle. What the hell you want to know that for? I don't know. Nobody knows what it is. What is the point of learning that? Your job is to develop grammar, but not to study grammar. If you study grammar, you are wasting your time. Everything is going to go slow, 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 and again, all the books will go on that bedroom cupboard right at the top. You need to develop grammar. You cannot ignore grammar, it's far too important, but you don't study grammar. And that is the best advice that I can give any of my students. For 17 years I've been teaching grammar all around the world, and all I do is tell my students, don't study grammar. Why? All of your language is going to suffer. When I say don't study grammar, I don't mean ignore it. Every time you get a book, throw it away. That's not what I mean. What I mean is don't get involved in the complex things about grammar. But you do need to know what a noun is. You need to know what a pronoun is. So remember these basic little things, A noun is a name of a person, an animal, a thing. A pronoun is a substitute. So when I say Mary came to me, she asked me, she is a pronoun. You need to know that. You need to know what a verb is. It's a doing verb. I stand. I am standing. Stand is the verb. You need to know what an adjective is. It is a white wall. I'm talking about the wall. I'm describing the wall. It's white. That's called an adjective. A preposition is a small word that tells you position, at, on, over, under, below. And a conjunction is how we join two messages together. I go to the shops. I buy cigarettes. Now I can put these two things in one sentence and join it with the word and. So I go to the shops and I buy cigarettes. That and is like a conjunction. Think of it as a junction for when we are joining two water pipes. Put a little T junction in there, it's the junction. And interjection is one of those silly things that we see at the end of words when words are supposed to be loud. It's a line with a dot underneath it. That is an interjection. So these are a few things. You should know about these, but don't get deeply studying them. Just you need to know what is a noun, what is a verb, because we are going to be talking about those things a little later on. Okay, how do we develop the language? By developing sentences. Why? Sentences is language. Sentences is grammar. Sentences is vocabulary. We develop sentences. Sentences is language. So how do we develop sentences? Well, we got to know what a sentence is for a start. Before we can develop a sentence, we need to know. Now, many of us here already know what a sentence is, but we are going to start from the beginning. I'm going to put together the rules for a sentence, and then what we're going to do is develop this foundation of a sentence. Once we know what that is, then you are like tigers who have been set free. You take these two pillars of a sentence and you develop them, and you develop them, and you develop them. And pretty soon, your English will be just as good as William Shakespeare, I guarantee it. All we have to do is know what a sentence is. And a sentence is a group of words that give us a clear message. I go to the shops. The bus is coming. It's a clear message. When we have a sentence, we talk about something. In every sentence, we talk about something. You see? Now, I catch the buses regularly. A lot of people say to me, Mr. Rana, you come from UK and you catch buses? Yes, I catch buses. Why? Because I want to learn the Sinhalese language. I want to see what people talk like, what they smell like, what they shout like. When you get inside a community, that is when you learn the true nature. I like to sit. My wife tells me off sometimes when I see a beggar on the floor. I don't just give them money. I spend 2-3 minutes sitting with them as well. Why? I want to feel the nature. I want to feel the expressions, the tone, the language. So it gives me a chance. But when I catch a bus, I never speak to the driver of the bus. Never. Why don't I speak to the driver of the bus? Because I have nothing to say to him. Do you talk to the drivers of the buses? Do you ever go to them and say, how are you, mister? Yes, how's the family? Is everything all right? Yes, I'm getting off next stop. Anybody do that? Why? Because there is no need for us to talk to him. We have nothing to say to him. And the driver never talks to me. He never asks me, Mr. Rana, how are you? Yes. Never. There is nothing for me to say. So we don't talk. But when we do talk, it means we have something to say to somebody. That is the purpose of a sentence. The purpose of a sentence is that we have a message. And when we have a message, we are talking about something. That something is called the subject. That's it. I would say you are sitting. You are the subject. I'm talking about what you are doing. So a sentence tells us what something is doing. Or I can say, the wall, hi, come on in. The wall is white. Now the wall isn't doing anything, but you are sitting. You are doing something. That's a sentence. But when I say the wall is white, the wall is not doing anything. What am I doing? I am describing the wall. In every sentence, something is doing something, or you are describing that something. That's all you need to know. Something is doing something, or we are describing something. You are sitting. That means you are doing something. Your t-shirt is, I don't know what color that is. Is it orange? Orange? Can I call it orange? Let's call it orange. The shirt, and a beautiful shirt, looks really nice on you. Your shirt is orange. The shirt is not doing anything. He is sitting. So I'm telling you he is doing something. But the shirt is not doing anything. I'm just describing that shirt. So the sentences are for two reasons. Number one, somebody or something is doing something, or we are describing that something. That's it. No other purpose. No other purpose at all. We need to get these fundamental things in place and then watch how the sentences begin to take off. So what is a sentence? It's a group of words that has a meaning. And in that meaning, we are saying something about somebody doing something, or we are just describing something there. Let's have an example of a sentence. A bus is coming. The subject, I'm talking about a bus. And I'm telling you what the bus is doing. Here it is. It's coming. So the subject is doing something. Our bus is coming. It is a big bus. This doesn't tell you what the bus is doing. It just describes the bus. So either we say something is doing something, or we just describe the something. That is the whole purpose of a sentence. Nothing else. So sentences equals grammar, equals language, and sentences need to be developed. And what are the sentences? There are a group of words that make a message. What message is it? Somebody is doing something, or we're describing something. That's it. That's all we need to do. Let's have a look. Here again, sentences tell us what something is doing, or they describe something. Here, the same two examples. How do we make a sentence? Well, we said that good sentences equals good language. So if you want good English, you need good sentences. Before we start to look at how to make our individual sentences good, how to make them academic, how to make them artistic, we need to know what needs to go in a sentence. And a sentence needs a subject, the thing that we are talking about. Remember, I don't talk to the bus driver. I don't have anything to say to him. If I tell you about something or somebody, then I will tell you what that subject is. So in a sentence, we need a subject, and we need to know what it's doing. And when we are describing something, we just use the verb is, to be. So this wall is white. They are red. So we use the verb. Every sentence needs a subject and it needs a verb. Let's develop sentences. And over the next 3 modules, let's take these sentences to the highest level of English that we can possibly go to. And I would say, let us take these to PhD English level, just by developing the sentences. What do we need in a sentence? Well, we need these 2 things. That's the minimum, absolute minimum. We need a subject and we need a verb. Whenever we are speaking English and whenever there's confusion, it is because the subject is not clear for me. And when the subject is clear, then the verb is not clear. So when I get problems with ESL speakers, that is people who speak English as a second language, English as a second language, ESL, that doesn't mean ESL are bad or anything. No, no, no. I met ESL teachers that are better than native English teachers. That doesn't mean anything. It means that you already have a language. You learned your own mother tongue, and you have the grammar rules for that, and the vocabulary rules, and how you use sentences. So you already developed one system of thinking. Now, when we take another language, sometimes when we don't know what to do, we use that same system in the mother language, and that's what causes problems. Remember, right at the beginning, I said system of grammar. That system is different for different languages, and when we get stuck, we have to use the only ones we already know, so we use the mother tongue system, and that is where complications begin to arise. What do we need in English? We need a subject and we need a verb. Do we need anything else? Yes, maybe we need them later, but to have a sentence, to have a correct, grammatical, perfect sentence, we just need two words. One subject and one verb. If you have a subject and a verb, you have perfectly correct, grammatically correct English. It's not good English, but it's perfectly correct. It's not academic English, but it's grammatically correct. It doesn't serve any great purpose, but it is grammatically correct. How do we do those extra things? We build on those two words, the subject and the verb. That is all we need. Let's just take a look here. A subject is a person, it's an animal, or it's a thing, a desk, a table, a wall, a star, a tree, even an idea like love, anger. They are also things. So that's what you need. It's the thing that we are talking about in our sentence. And a verb is a doing word. This tells us what that thing is doing. So all we need is a subject and a verb to have a technically correct sentence. Is it enough? Let's have a look. There is the subject in that sentence, and this is the verb coming. Here, the subject is it, because it's a pronoun, and the verb is tells us something about the bus. So here you see sentences, very, very simple, how to see the subject and the verb working. Let's start to begin our own little sentences. Let's start to feel how we can begin to develop our own sentences to take our English to a level that you never ever expected. We need a subject, we need a verb. So if I just take any subject and any verb and put them together, will that give me a sentence? The answer is no. It is not that easy. You cannot just take any subject and any verb and just put the two together. You cannot make a sentence out of that. We need to look at this sentence, man dancing. Here is a subject, here is a verb, but this is not correct. It is not correct because it's going to be one of those nights. A subject is a noun. It's a thing. It's a person. It's an animal. And when you have things that are nouns, if you talk about one of them, then you need an article in front of it. I can't say man because I don't know. Is it a particular man? Is it any man? Or is it a special man? You see, every noun needs an article in the singular form, if you can count it. So I can say water is good. I don't need a water because water cannot be counted. Gold, I don't say a gold. Why? Because gold cannot be counted. When you have nouns that can be counted, and if you are talking about just one of them, then you have to put an indefinite article. Now here we go with the definitions. Forget the indefinite article. You need a, an, or the in front of every single noun that can be counted. So here you have a noun and it is in the single, and you cannot write it like that. You need to tell me a man or the man. It has to be like that. So now, if I put an article in front of the subject and then have a verb, will I have a sentence? And the answer is no. No, not yet. Because if I said a man dance, that still doesn't make any sense at all. Verbs, these words, have to match the subject. You have to match this verb with this subject. And the matching is different when we are talking about the third person, single. So if I'm talking to you, I count myself as the first person. If I'm talking to you, you will be the second person. And if we are talking about him, he will be the third person. The problem is we have me in the plural form. I can say we. And we have I, we, and then you. There is no plural for you anymore. There used to be a beautiful plural, but we only find it in religious textbooks now. The word is thou, and thou meant you lot. So, you know, if you read some of the, what is this, 10 commandments, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not drink too much arrack on a Sunday night, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, all the beautiful things, they're all banned, they're all the 10 rules, but thou shalt, what it is God telling all the human beings, don't do this, don't do that, you lot, don't do that. So thou was the plural. Now we don't have a plural, we just say you for one and you for all of you. So the first person I, the plural is we, then it's you, and then we have this horrible third person single. He, she, and it. And those three have to have a different matching. A man, we're talking about a third person, dances. We have to now change the verb dance to dancers. So what do? We need a subject and we need a verb. That subject has to have the article in front of it. And then we have to match the verb to the subject. And we change it when it's the third person. He dances, she dances, it dances. So I play, you play, but he plays. I go, you go, but she goes. I write, you write, but he writes. So we have to change the verb to match the subject. Okay, so what do we need? We need a subject and we need a verb. We need an article if it's needed for the subject, and we have to match the verb to the subject. So if I did all of those things, would I now have a technically correct sentence? And the answer is no. The verb, this one, the verb has to be changed. This, a man dancing, this is also not correct. The verb has to be changed. Why do we need to change it? We need to know when the dancing took place. The verb has to tell us when the action took place. So if I said I teach, I have to now take the verb teach and change it to tell you when the teaching is done. If I say I drink, I have to now change the verb drink to tell you what time I did the drinking. I don't mean by time 6:30 or 6:45. No. I mean, is it done now? Was it done before? Is it going to be done in the future? That is the time. You have to change this verb to tell me the time when the dancing happened. That is what we do in the English rules. You have to change the verb to tell me the time of the action. How do we change the verb? Well, we add little words in front of the word. Sometimes we add something to the verb. You see, this verb is come from dance. They take the E away and put ing. So we put something, we change the verb. Why do we change the verb? It tells us the time when the dancing was done. We want to know when the dancing happened. When did it take place? So now let's start again. We need a subject and a verb. We need an article in front of the subject. We need to match the two, and we have to change the verb to tell us when it happened. This business of time, it sounds a bit stupid. Why do we need to know the time? Well, in English, we call it tense. Tense means the time. Tense means time. It comes from the Latin word tense, and tense means the time of the action. We have to change the verb to tell us when that thing was done. So if I play cricket, I have to change play to tell you when I did the playing. If I go to work, I have to change the go to tell you what time I went to work. If I eat breakfast, I have to change eat, the verb, to tell you what time the breakfast was ate. That's what we need to do. So we need to know when the action happened. Has it already happened? Is it happening now? Will it happen later? Has it just finished happening? Has it started? Is it continuing to happen? We need to change the tense. And once we begin to look and understand that those two words are all we need, and we need to change the tense, that is when we grab the English by the horns. That is when we really begin to truly understand what the value of a sentence is. And remember, sentence is grammar, which equals language. We are not grabbing language, we are not grabbing grammar, we are just going to grab sentences. By grabbing these, everything else develops with it. It has to. It's automatic. Here's how we change it. The verb play, add an ed. It means it's finished. I've done it. If I say are playing, I say it's happening now. And I will play means it's not happened yet. It's going to happen in the future. You see what we are doing? We're taking this verb and we're adding something. We're taking this verb and we are adding words in front, behind, and a word in front. That is tense. We are changing the time of the action. Now, when we look at these tenses, most of my students in the countries that I teach, when I say tenses, they say, Mr. Rana, we know tenses is past, present, and future. That's the tense. Actually, you cannot be further away from the truth. Tenses are not past, present, and future. The tenses don't come in past, present, and future. Look, if I tell you I teach, that is the present tense. If I said I am teaching, that is the present tense. If I said I have taught, that is the present tense. If I said I have been teaching, that is the present tense. Each one of those has a different timing, and yet they are all called the present tense. Past, present, and future are not tenses. And we need to just get rid of this idea. What are the tenses? Here they are. These are the tenses. We have a simple tense. We have a simple continuous tense. We have a perfect tense. We have a perfect continuous tense, and we have a passive tense. And those 5 tenses make up 99.9% of the English language. So now let's just relate all of this back to what we are talking about. We need a subject, we need a verb. We need to put an article in the subject if we need it. Then we need to match the verb to the subject. And then we take this verb and we change it into one of these 5 tenses. That's it. We change it into one of these 5 tenses. Now, if I do all of those things, will I have a correct legal sentence? And the answer is yes. That's what we need. In 2 words, we need to put an article in front of the subject if it's needed. We need to match the verb to the subject. We then need to change the verb into the tense. Which tense? Well, let's take all of them. There they are, they're all there. We need to change the verb into one of these tenses. What happens when we change it? It tells us the time of the action. That's the only reason we change it. So most of the grammar, most of your language is all stuck in these tenses. And what we need to do is identify each one of these so we can relate to it. We cannot just relate to it. It is no good you looking at this chart of mine or taking pictures or downloading the PowerPoint presentation. That's going to do nothing for you. You're just going to have pieces of paper, whether you print it off, it's just going to be lying in your files and in your folders. You are never going to look back and say, and you are never going to practice this. If you go to the shop and somebody said, sir, would you like this t-shirt? And you're not going to think, I'm going to give the answer to this woman. Now I need to match the subject. You're not going to do that. Which tense are you? You don't do that. Why? Because it takes you 10 minutes to think. When somebody said, Rajan, would you like a beer with me tonight? And you're going to think, just a minute. Subject, this is a verb, this is a verb, this is a verb. Just hang on. Simple tense, simple. Is that what you're going to do? Impossible. You cannot do this. If you met me in one of these places where I go to a few places if I met you there, the first thing I would say to you, young man, come here, what would you like to drink? And you said, no sir, I'll buy these. And you say, what would you like? I say, I want one of these. I don't think which tense I'm going to use. It just comes straight out. Why does it come straight out? Because I don't need to think about it. Why don't I think about it? Because that's the way I've been speaking for years and years and years. All of these things are in here. They are not in ROM, read-only memory, where you have to load up a disk and remember your vocabulary. These are in RAM, random access memory, the one at the front. The one, if you ask me any question, I'll just give you the right tense. Why? Because I'm used to it. Because I practiced these things when I was young, and now they become second nature. If you want to practice these things, you got to do it like me. You got to do it like those little children in the UK. That's the only way to learn it. And how do you do it? You make these things routine. You have to repeat these things. When you repeat these things, your mouth will move into different positions. Your tongue will go into different position. Your lips will be in different position. The way we move our teeth will be in a different position. You have to get yourself accustomed to those things. Now, later on in the modules, I will be dealing with pronunciation. Because even though we are talking about English grammar, what happens is there are 2 kinds of English. One is a formal English and one is an informal English. The formal English is the one that you read in textbooks, and the informal English is the language that we speak. Now, the thing about grammar is that when we speak, we do not have this separate words. We make contractions. So, is not becomes isn't, and do not becomes don't. And when we have these contractions, and we only have them in the spoken language, the pronunciation changes. So we have to change with the pronunciation. So I'll be looking at how we use those pronunciations so you can quickly practice those. But none of those are any good to you if you don't build them. It's no good writing when you say don't. It's got to be ooh, da, ooh, da. You write it down, put it in a book, you're never going to read it. These things have to be developed, and the exercises to develop them have to be very, very simple. They have to be very, very effective, and they have to be very, very quick. This is not a training exercises for football or rugby, but some of you guys look really fit. I suppose you go for these training sessions. No, you need to do this 3 or 4 minutes and finish. That's it. 3 or 4 minutes, finish, and every day. Just keep practicing them. I'll be talking about how to practice them. Let's just have a look. We need a subject, 1 word. We need a verb, 1 word. And now we have to match that verb to the subject. Then we take the verb and put that into one of these tenses. Which one should we put it in? Well, we need to know what the times are. Let's have a look at this. Simple tense. What does it mean, the time? The time means it's regular. It's regular. And I will use 1 verb and I will take it through all of these tenses so you can see the way that the verb is changing. So if I'm talking about the verb to work, which is a normal regular verb, I will say I work, and that's it. What does the work mean? It means it's the simple tense. And what does the simple tense mean? It means I do it regularly. That's it. I play means I play regularly. I watch television. It means I watch television regularly. I go to the temple. What does it mean? I go to the temple regularly. I go shopping. What does it mean? I go shopping regularly. Simple tense means regular, repeated actions. That's all we need to do. Simple continuous, what does that mean? Now, when I give you these examples, there are 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 separate occasions when we use this. I am only giving you the first one today, and then once you practice that, you will be able to fit in the rest for yourselves. Simple tense, something that is regular. It happens. Simple continuous tense, what does that mean? It means it's not finished yet. Whatever you do, it means it's not finished yet. I'm in the middle of it. It's not completed. Or I'm doing it right now. How do we identify the simple from the continuous? This word continuous, I want you to take a look at this because it comes again here. What does continuous mean? It means ing at the end. This ing. What does it mean? Continuous. Every time you see continuous, you got this ing at the end. It's an ing. But before you can put the ing, you have to put the verb to be. So I am ing. I am teaching. I am singing. I am playing. They are playing. She is playing. You have to have this verb to be, is, am, are, and then ing. Every time we do this, ing at the end. Ing. Simple? No ing. Nothing needed. I work. I am working. What does it mean? It's not finished. It's not completed. Now, a lot of people will say to me, why do you use this when you don't mean it? I will be going on, I apologize for that. This simple continuous tense, a lot of the time it's used in Sri Lanka, and it's used in the wrong way. We will be dealing with some of those common mistakes when people say she is having a good job. This is she is having. As soon as people say to me, she is having a good job, and I'll say, oh dear, sorry to hear that. And you see, the problem here now is she's used the simple continuous tense, and that means it's not finished, it's going to finish. So when somebody tells me, this is my daughter, she is having a very good job, I feel sorry for her because it's going to come to an end. It's temporary. It means it's not finished yet, it's going to finish. So she's going to lose that job. So because they use the wrong tense, I get the wrong message. I now feel sorry for her, and I'll say, what will you do afterwards? She said, what do you mean? She's having a good job. So, she's having a good job means it's temporary. It's going to finish. She's in the middle of it. It's on the way. So it gives the wrong message. She should have said, she has a good job. That would be a permanent thing, a regular thing. So she has a good job. She is having a good job. She is having a good job makes it temporary, and I feel sorry for them. So a lot of the times we make a lot of mistakes when we're doing that. Now, let's just get this idea. Simple tense, regular. It happens repeatedly. It's permanent or it's regular. Yes?
So that is totally correct.
Which?
She's having a job?
No, it depends in which context that you use it. Yes, you see, you just did it again. You said we are using. That means you're using it only temporarily. Normally, we use that, and that is one of those errors that we get. I'll be looking at these. I'll be explaining all of these in a very beautiful, simple way, and I will give you a wonderful little exercises. You don't need to write on paper or anything, and you can practice these. I'm sure that once we get there, you'll be quite surprised. At the moment, let's get what we are doing is subject and a verb, and we are changing that verb to give us the time of the action. Where do we change it? In one of these 5 ways. And what does the time mean? This simple means regular, repeated, permanent. This one means temporary, not finished at the moment. What does the perfect mean? A perfect means it has happened before now. That's it. If we look at now, the present, anything that has happened before now. So this is the past, this is the future. I draw a line like this. Anything that has happened before now. If it's in the past tense, it is anything that happened before that time in the past. So it's the past of the past. So present perfect, something that has happened before now. It could be 30 seconds ago, it could be 30 billion years ago. It's something that has happened before now. Past perfect, something that has happened before this time in the past. Future perfect, something that will happen before this time in the future. It is always before. Before. It's happened, it's finished. And here, before. So perfect tense really tells me something has happened before now. A lot of people say to me, what kind of stupid language is this? If something has happened in the past, why don't you just use the simple past tense? I went to the shop. Why do you need to use perfect? Well, this language, stupid language, is the language that we send people to the moon on. It is the language that all satellites orbit in. It is the language that all the pilots use in the aircraft all around the world at the same time. It is the language that is used by all shipping channels, ships, everything. It is the language where we do all international trade. It is a language that is used by the financial, whole banking sector. It is the language where health and everything, medicine and science is really named, nomenclature. This language has to be deadly precise. And we can't have this confusion. So we have this perfect tense. Now, if I said to you something in the perfect tense, it means happened before now. It gives me precise. If people say to me, why don't you just use the normal past tense? Well, if I said to you, I went to the party yesterday and all the guests walked out. I went to the party yesterday and all the guests walked out. What will you think? You say, Mr. Rana, you naughty man. What did you do? I say, nothing. I went to the party and they all walked out. I say, Mr. Rana, did you have a shower? You're smelling bad. I said, of course I had a shower, I put everything on. That's nothing to do with it. I went to the party and they all walked out. I said, something's wrong. Don't they like you? Did you swear at them? Did you have a fight? I say, Ayo, what you talking, man? I went to the party and they all left. You see, I went to the party in the past. It's finished yesterday. And they all walked out yesterday in the past. But you see, if I don't tell you the relationship between the time, you will have wrong message. You think that I'm a troublemaker. I did something wrong. But if I said to you, I went to the party, but the guests had already left. And now you know that they left before I got there. So what I'm telling you is that this happened before this. That is why we need the perfect tense. I'm telling you, I went to the party yesterday, past tense, but now I need to tell you that something happened before the party and they left. So they left 1 hour before I got there. I got there late, by the way, that's why. So that's why we need the perfect tense. It gives us more accurate when we are talking about two sets of time. Let's not get too involved with it. Let's learn to use it instead. So what does the simple mean? Regular. What does the simple continuous mean? Unfinished, temporary. What does the perfect mean? It happened before the present or before the past or before the future. What is this business? It means it started to happen before, but instead of finishing, it is still happening now. It is still happening now. Just like the perfect tense, instead of happening in the past and finishing, it started to happen, but it's still going on now. Let's have a look at how we use this. I work. So we have nothing, no words added, just use the simple verb. What about the simple continuous? We use the verb to be and ing. Be ing. I am sing-ing. He is dancing. They are coming. What happened? It's now, happening now. Perfect tense, we use the verb have. 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 I have. And because it's finished, it's in the past tense, worked. So I have worked, which means before now, I did the work and it's finished. I have worked. We use the word have for the perfect. And in the continuous, we back onto the ing again. So I have, now the verb to be, been, work, and ing. I have been working. They have been working. She has been cooking. Meaning, she started in the past, but she's still doing it now. When people come to my house, and sometimes I have a small dinner party, and they will ask, where is Diana? I'll say, she's in the kitchen. She has been cooking since 9 o'clock, meaning she started at 9 in the past, but now she's still doing it. So she has been cooking. And this passive tense, I'll come and deal with that in a few moments. Let me just have a look. Simple tense, regular, repeated action. How do we do it? I work. Simple continuous, I am working. Perfect tense, I have worked. And here, one of the strange things I'm going to go through the English language is the way that we pronounce some of these words. This D at the end of worked is pronounced as a T. We don't pronounce it as a D. We don't say worked, we say worked. I will come to explain some of these. We have some really stupid things in the English language, and I will be going through each one of those stupid things so you can really have a good laugh at them. And you can also, when you use the T instead of the D, you'll find, hey, this is much, much better, much, much easier to say. And as you begin to develop some of those things, you'll begin to enjoy my modules. Not too much, but you will enjoy them. Okay, I have worked. I have worked. And this is perfect tense. I have worked and I have been working. That's it. Now, it is no good me telling you these things. You need to say them. You need to say them. How will you say them? Will you just pick one word? Nah, you're wasting your time. Let me show you how to do it in a beautiful way. No books, no nothing. Let me just talk about this passive tense. We normally have a subject and a verb. I've said that. Yes? But these are not good sentences. We need an object as well. So I go to the shops. The shops is the object where I go. I eat rice. So I, subject, eat, the verb, and what do I eat? The rice. That's the object. Now, in most sentences, we will have the subject, the verb, and the object. But I'm talking about the legal requirements to make a proper sentence, subject and verb. Now, if you have a sentence, you must have a subject in there. That subject is a person, an animal, or a thing. So when you give instructions to somebody, when you give advice to somebody, or when we buy a laptop, or when we buy a mobile phone, you get a beautiful little box and you open the box, pull it out, and then on top is a little white booklet, instruction booklet, tells you what to do, how to put the battery in, you know what. These little booklets are giving advice. So if you want to give advice, you have to use English language. And English language, you must have sentences. And those sentences must have a subject and a verb. Now, when I give you advice, I will have to say, then you get in the car, then you turn round. We've got to have the subject. So when you read these little booklets, I want you to imagine that I go to the shops and I buy a washing machine with my wife. My wife is Sinhalese, she's Sri Lankan, so she will say, don't put the washing machine there, put the washing machine there, you know. No, I don't like that, move it to the... not like English women, they say, no, we'll take care of it. No, Sinhalese ladies, no, I don't want it there, I want it there. No, move it a little bit, 1 inch, until she got it. So when I put this washing machine down, and then I unpack it, and then I get it ready, and everything's done, and then Sinhalese woman, I want to try it, put it on, I want to wash some clothes and test it. So I will now look at the instruction booklet and everything, and you see I'm reading the sentences, and then I've done this, and then that one, this is all done, my dear, this is all done, and then I say I just need to put the plug in, and my wife, she grabs the plug, and she says, all right, darling, I will do this for you. I say, don't touch the plug. She said, why? I said, the instruction said, then you put the plug into the socket. See? They are talking to me. It says, you. I have to put the plug in. So you can't put the plug in. The instructions are clear. It says, then you put, they don't say, then your wife puts the plug in. It doesn't say, then anybody else in the room put, it says you. It's very, very clear. Then you. I'll say, if you touch that plug, could explode. And no guarantee. She said, are you a stupid man? I said, you stupid, these companies, they've written the instructions. I've been following all the instructions. The last instruction, it says, then you put them. They are talking to me. It says, you. They are saying, I have to put this plug in. She said, you stupid foreign man. Where does it say that? She said, then I will read it, and then it says you. So if you read it, then you can put it in. But don't ask me to touch it. You see? Does it matter who puts the plug in? If you put the plug in, would it work? If she puts the plug in, would it work? Would you look confused? If my wife puts the plug in, would it work? The washing machine? Yes, it would work. If he put the plug in, would it work? So why do they say you put the plug Because it's English. They need a subject. The grammar says you have to have a subject. You have to have a person, an animal, or a thing. Now, who can they put? Then somebody who is standing in the room can pick up the plug. They can't do it like that. You see, it makes no difference. You put it in, you put it in. It doesn't matter if my dog puts it in. It will work. But because it's English language, they have to have the subject. What can we do about this stupid nonsense? The passive tense. This is where you take the subject out. But then it doesn't matter. How do you put it? You take the object. You insert the plug. We take the object and turn the object into the subject and put in the verb to be and the past tense. So, you insert the plug. You, subject, insert the verb, the plug is the object, take the object, put it to the front, the plug is inserted. That's it. Take the past tense, inserted. The plug is inserted into the electrical socket. Now the you has gone, and that is the purpose of the passive tense, to take away the direct active person. So we make it inactive, we make it passive. Now the opposite of passive is... Another example, yes, the battery is inserted into the back of the phone. So it doesn't say you insert the battery into the back of the phone. The battery is inserted into the back of the phone. Yeah, okay. You follow the instructions are followed. That's it. We just take the object, turn it into the subject, and then we just put the verb to be, is, are, am, and the past tense of the verb. I'll be looking a little bit more into these, and I'll be checking each one as we do that. One of the wonderful things that I get my students in is that we have these active sessions where I will ask you to come up and speak and connect 2 or 3 sentences. Once we got these basic fundamental ideas in place, we're going to then start to practice in them. I'm going to ask individually over the next 3 weeks. I know some of you are very, very shy, don't want to come up. I will drag you from your chairs and make you come up to do that. Take advantage of these things. We want to have a look. We're going to be looking at all kinds of things that we are looking at this. But let's just continue with this, because really you just need a subject and you need a verb. You need to match the subject to the verb, and then you need to convert the verb to one of these. Normally these 4. What do they mean? Well, it changes the time. Why do we need the time? Well, we now want to know when the action happened. So when does it happen? It either happens regularly, it's not finished now, or it's happened in the past, or it's started to happen and it's still continuing to happen. Now, how do we begin to look at these? Let's take a look at this verb, I work, and let's look at this word. It's a regular verb. And that means it doesn't change. Like I sit, in the past it changes to I sat. You can't say I sitted. I teached. You can't say I teached. You have to say I taught. Those are irregular verbs. They have a different spelling. I'm going to look at this verb to work because it's a regular verb. It doesn't have those horrible spelling changes to it. Let's have a look at this verb. Let's get a chart. Instead of writing books and instead of having copies of A4 exercise books, I always ask my students just one sheet of paper. If you have just one sheet of paper, all your focus is just on that one sheet. So if you are having exercise books and notes, the best thing you can do is throw them in the bin, because they are not going to help you. You are not going to go through those pages. I guarantee you are not going to develop this. What you need is just one piece of paper. What do you do with this paper? I would say that you have it like this. And then I would suggest, now, I know most people in Sri Lanka, they do the kind of things that I enjoy doing. And sometimes when I want to do what I want to do, I stay out late at night. And then when I get home, there's normally a problem with the wife. She's not happy. So what happens? Well, I like to have a little cigarette. So I don't smoke in the house. And there's always a little corner of the house, you know, where men go to when they are being a little miserable, when the wives, you know, give them a slap. There's a little place they go to hide. And I have 3 of those little places to go to hide. And when I go to hide there, because I spend a long time in those places, I made those places nice. I put little plants there, you know, like make myself feel better, you know, if my wife is getting a little bit funny and then I have to spend 2-3 hours there, you may as well make that place decorated a little bit, have a little table, a few ashtrays. I put a small fridge there now. You can, you know, I don't need to bother her. Just if she shouts, I go there. The glasses are there, nice, clean. I brought a new set. Wonderful. Everybody has those little places. And I also find out that Sri Lankan people, even the women, have their own little places as well now. So when they get a little bit, you know, they will go with their friends to those places. You're all welcome to come to my house and have a look. I will show you my places. You might even like them. That is the place where you should put the sheet. But that is where you're going to spend time. And also, I would suggest to you that you have a little bit of space. How much space? About 7 steps. So if you're going to do this, we're going to do this. So you bring these exercises into here, but most important, they need to be brought here. If they don't come here, they are not really there. And if they are not there, they will never, ever, ever come here. So the only way to know if you understand these things and how to quickly reply and use these techniques is to look at this and then begin to practice it. Now, when you practice this thing, you need all the parties. I, plural of I, you, he, she, it, and they. That makes it 7. So I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. 7. And the reason why I ask you to have some steps, I want you to have 7 steps. I would like you to have your little place where you have 7 steps. I would like you to stand on one side of the wall and then move your feet and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But whenever you walk, your heel will touch the ground first. That is this part of the foot. You know, that touches down, you know, like this. The heel goes down first. Now, I know 1 or 2 people where the heel doesn't touch down first. They walk like this. I don't know. If you're doing that, that's the best of luck. I would say you need to see a doctor first. Because the heel should go down first. Otherwise, you can cause yourself nasty injury. Now, I want the heel to go down, 1. But at the same time as the heel goes down, I would like you to quietly clap. So it's like this. 4, 5, 6, 7. It is no good doing this. That's no good. And it's no good doing this. It must be together. The reason why it's together is that the focus of your balance, the whole body, the clapping and timing will stop you thinking about anything in any other mother tongue. If you want to think in English, focus on your balance and your steps. I guarantee you, you will not make a connection in any mother tongue. Your thinking will be purely on these words. Then, I would like you to take this in the simple tense and take it through the I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. How do you do it? Like this. I work. We work. You work. He works. She works. It works. They work. That's what I would like you to do. Get a place. Do not do it on polished tiles, or if you're doing it outside and it's raining, just wait a while or mop the floor. We don't want to otherwise I go to the hospital. It's I work, not I need an ambulance. So remember that. This exercise with all that you need, your simple tense will be absolutely solid. Next time when I said, if I ask you for a drink and you're thinking which tense, this will come out automatically. Why? Because you are constantly repeating it. If I could send you all to London now, it would take you 4 or 5 years to develop this accent and vocabulary and everything. You don't need that excuse. You have it all here. You have everything that you need, and you can do it much, much quicker, much, much more easily, much, much cheaper, just by taking these 7 steps. I work, you work, he works, she works, it works, they work. That's how you got to do it. You need to make it faster and faster until you get to a stage where you are just going, I work, you work, he works, she works, it works, they work. That's it. That's the stage we need to get it. And then we need to develop this routine. So this is telling me I work. So this is positive. What if you don't work? So I do not work. We do not work. You do not work. He does not work. Matches. He does not. She does not. It does not. They do not. So I work, you work, he works, she works, it works. They work. I don't work. We don't work. You don't work. It doesn't work. She doesn't work. It doesn't work. They don't work. We need the question mark. Do I work? So we have to practice all of these in the positive, the negative, and the interrogative. So I call it plus, minus, question mark. And when you do the question marks, do I work? Do we work? Do you work? Does he work? Does she work? Does it work? Do they work? When you come to the question mark, you cannot say, does he work? We have to now develop the tone. Does he work? It's not, does he work? Does she work? No, does she work? You have to ask the question. How do we ask the question? In the English language, when we ask a question, the voice right at the end of the words just goes up like this. So if you imagine like that, it's does he work? You watch? La la la. That's what happened. Does he work? Does he work? Does she work? Do they work? Does it work? I don't work. We don't work. He doesn't work. She doesn't work. It doesn't work. They don't work. Do I work? Do we work? Does he work? Does he work? Does she work? Does it work? Do they work? That's the feeling. The tone has to now begin to come out. Why? It's part of grammar. If you don't have that rising tone, I don't understand. It's a question. Are you coming? I say, are you coming? No, are you coming? We're going out tonight. Would you like to come? Would you? A little high voice at the end. Are you okay? Not are you okay? No, are you okay? Get this tone. Where does it go? Into the chart. We move everything into this one chart. As we look at this grammar, as we look at developing the sentences, as we look at the pronunciation, we'll be looking at accent and the way that you can develop your accent. So it's a bit like mine. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing, and once you see the things I'm doing, you'll say to yourself, "Ayo, I can do that." And when you try it, and you watch the difference that you can get in your accent and in your fluency. All of these things we'll be looking at. And all of this idea of pronunciation, all of this fluency, all of this tone, everything goes into this one chart. I just want you to have one chart. That's all you need. One piece of paper. No books, no exercises, no nothing. Just develop this one chart and stick it in that corner of your house where you go to. Let's begin to develop this chart. I work. Simple continuous, temporary actions happening right now. Where is this? This verb to be and ing. So if I say I am working, it means I'm doing it right now, or I'm in the middle of a project, it's not finished. Many people will say to me, I am building a house. I'll say, no, you're not, you're sitting in the classroom. You say, no, Mr. Rana, I mean that I'm in the middle of a project and it's not finished. You see, you could tell me I'm studying for a law degree. I say, no, you're not, you're sitting here. How are you? You say, I'm in the middle of that. So we use that to say it's not finished. And there it is. How do we identify the simple continuous? Ing, and the verb to be. I am working, you are working, he is working. That's how we say it. What does it mean? It's not finished, it's happening now. What about the perfect tense? It means it happened sometime in the past. Perfect tense. And how do we get it? Have. And because it's already happened, worked. And this D, T, please. Worked. I have worked. I don't know what I did there. Oh, there it is. Yes. And there it is. The perfect continuous. It's continuous, so it has the ing on the end. It's the have because it's perfect, and the verb to be is there. So I have been working. It means I started back in the past, but I am still doing it now. So I have been working. And practice these with the 7 steps. There we go. The positive, the negative, and the interrogative. I call it plus. Is that a knock on the door? Did somebody knock on the door? Who is that weather again? And the interrogative. Well, I call it plus, minus, and question mark. Much easier to remember. Let's have a look. Now, the plus, I work. I do not work. Do I work? I am working. So now back again. I am working, we are working, you are working, he is working, she is working, it is working, they are working. I am not working, we are not working, you are not working, he is not working, she is not working, they are not working. Am I working? Are you working? Is he working? Is she working? This is how to practice this. I have worked, we have worked, you have worked, he has worked, she has worked, it has worked, they have worked. Have I worked? Have you worked? Has he worked? Has she worked? Have they worked? I have been working. We have been working. You have been working. He has been, she has been, it has been, they have been working. I have not been working. We have not been working. You have not been. Just take them all through the 7 steps. How long does it take? About 10 minutes to go through. 10 minutes to go through. As you go through these, as you continuously, over the next 3 modules and today, you will just have this one sheet of paper to look at. Every time you look at it, it gets further and further from the rum into the ram. As you begin to say these words, your tongue, your mouth, your lips will begin to shape so you can quickly say these words. Quickly change the tenses, and that is what most of the accent and pronunciation is all about. Now, these are the present tense. I work. We work, you work, he works, she works, it works, they work. Now, each one of these tenses has a past form, a present form, and a future form. Those are the ones that we originally confused with tenses. These are forms. So now, I work, past tense, I worked. So I worked, we worked, you worked, he worked, she worked, it worked, they worked. Now the past tense, I did not work. We did not work, you did not work, he did not work, she did not work, it did not work, they did not work. And that's the future. I will work. I will work, we will work, you will work, he'll work, she will work, it'll, they'll. That's how you take it. You need to take it. Eventually, you will be left with something like this. This will give you the past form, the present form, and the future form. And this is the one sheet that I would like you to put there. These PowerPoint presentations are available on the Winner website. Download them, make use of them, clear the color, put your own things in, but for God's sake, when you put them on your wall, don't make them small. It's no good saying, I have worked, you have worked. You need it where you can see it from here. My other students, they start with one sheet and then they take 4 of these. They put a sellotape and they have a chart this big. They take those big markers and they do this. And believe me, some of them, fantastic improvement. If you want to improve your English, if you really want to improve your grammar, if you want to improve your fluency, you must remember, it is language that you need to develop. Language comes in sentences. The grammar is in the language. Don't look at grammar separately. That will stop you from developing. I beg you not to get involved in the grammar. You will be destroying your own desires. Those grammar books, they do not work. If they worked, nobody would need to come to classes like this. If those grammar things really worked, there would be no education system. You just take one beautiful grammar book and you could learn from there. They do not work. They are too boring, they are too complex, and they go into detail about things that you do not need. What do you need? You need fluency. You need tone. You need to understand how sentences are made and then learn to create those sentences. Today, we have put into place the structure for building our sentences. Over the following 3 weeks, I will show you how to take those 2 words and take it, and I will show you how to convert it into better than Shakespeare if you are willing to learn. It is so easy. That's all you need. But the reason why we cannot be creative with those sentences is because we lose the foundation structure. We forget that this has to match that, then it has to be converted, and then we don't know how to do it. These must be rapid. These exercises will develop your sense of speaking, your sense of understanding, your sense of developing your own English. That's what we will do. Now, when we speak in English, there is an academic English and there is a spoken English. In the academic English is the serious text. It's the text that you get in, when you take a loan from a bank and you have those little writing, all of that is very complicated stuff. They don't use loose vocabulary. But when we are speaking, we use different words. If I went to the shops and if I saw something for $5, and if I wrote about this, I would probably say, due to the very exceptional, reasonable nature of the price, there was no hesitation on my part to purchase the product. That's what I would write. But if somebody was speaking to me, I would say, yeah, well, it was $5, so I thought, why not? You see, it's completely different English. And when you're due to the inexpensive price stated for the product, there was no hesitation on my part in purchasing the same. Spoken language, well, it was $5, so I thought, why not? It's completely different English. Now, when we speak, we use contractions. Before we can begin to develop that informal English, which is the hardest part, a lot of people think academic English is the tough. Nothing. Informal English, that is the difficult bit, and that is the beautiful bit. And what makes us learn these little things about spoken English? Number 1, contractions. What is a contraction? bringing together two words to make one word. Is not, isn't, could not, couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, can't, won't. They will, they'll, she'll, he'll, it'll, it had, it'd, I had, I'd. Putting these words together in a systematic way also makes your fluency very, very smooth. So we're trying to develop that fluency, but we want to do it in that same chart. So look, here I put in all the contractions when we speak. So I will, I'll work, I will not, I won't, I will be, I'll be, I will have, I'll have. So you have all of those contractions there. Maybe this one needs changing to I'll. I have not, I haven't worked. I had not, I hadn't. I had been, I'd been working, And once you get these into your mouth comfortably, where they are sitting in your mouth and you can pronounce them, you notice that your whole accent and your fluency begins to change. It's a matter of practicing for maybe 5 to 15 minutes. And I suggest that you start very, very slowly. The beauty is not in the speed, it is in the accuracy. So I worked, I didn't work, did I work? I was working, I wasn't working, and was I working? I'd worked, we'd worked, you'd worked, he'd worked, she'd worked. So I hadn't worked, I hadn't worked, I hadn't worked. Get these into the mouth. Must get these into the mouth. This is spoken grammar. When we speak, we do not say, I had not worked. Nobody says that. The grammar changes. It's I hadn't worked, I hadn't worked, I hadn't worked. And when we say these things together, you see that this T vanishes. Once you begin to say these with reasonable speed, it doesn't sound like I hadn't worked. There's no T there. I hadn't worked, I hadn't worked. We will be looking at how to get rid of these sounds, because when I won't have worked, I don't say I won't have worked, I say I won't have worked, I won't have worked. Will I work? I'll have been working. This I'll have been working, it just sounds like I love being working. It's I'll have been working, I'll have been working, I'll have been working. You don't say I'll have been working. We say I'll have been working, I'll have been. And the only way you're going to get these in is by constantly repeating them, by looking at what's going on with your tongue, by focusing and saying, I can't use the Sinhalese sounds. There are some sounds in the Sinhalese language that we don't have in the English language. There are a lot of sounds in the English language that are non-existent in Sinhalese, a lot in Sinhalese that are non-existent in the English language. Now, most of the sounds we are already familiar with, and I'll be going through some of them that cause problems, and I'll also upload a video with those that you can focus on. One of the biggest sounds that we have a problem with is the long A sound, A. So day, today, going away, play. This A, we pronounce it as A, play, day. And you got to do it A. And I'll be looking at how to use that pronunciation and bring that into your speeches, so that it's very comfortable for you, and then it's a matter of just putting a daily practice in. Table on the top, daily practice to get all of these sounds in, to get these sentence structures, and this is, remember, these are only really 2 words. This is the subject and the verb. That's all it is. But sometimes we have to change the verb to give us the time. And when we have, like, I won't have been, you can see how many things have gone into there to give the meaning of the sentence. These are only 2 words. We're going to take a look at how to extend these words. We'll have a revision when you come back next week. Really, this week is just to get yourself familiar with this idea and to get yourself chatting and talking. So practice with all the parties. There's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. Practice with all of these forms. And if you want to know what a practice thing looks like, in the one simple tense, the present one, it's all there. I work, we work, you work, he works, she works, it works, they work. I don't work, we don't work, you don't work, he doesn't work, she doesn't work, it doesn't work, they don't work. Do I work, do we work, do you work, does he work, does she work, does it work, do they work? That is just the one simple tense. You have all of those blocks to go through. Take your time, go through them. Don't try to go through them fast. You will be defeating the objective. It is not a race to see how fast you can get it. It is a challenge for you to identify what is going on in the mouth when you say these sounds. The recognition, why the sounds don't come out, and then randomly next time you come, I'll just be doing a check to see that they are coming out correctly. I'll also be looking at the pronunciation techniques. Doesn't work, why we don't pronounce the T. I should also be looking at the difficult pronunciation of the T sound. This is a sound that we do not have in the Sinhalese language. We have a T, but we don't have a T. There is a difference between a T and a T. So you can have a cup of tea, or you can have a cup of tea. And there's no such thing as a cup of tea, is there really? That's, you cannot substitute these sounds from one language into the other. If I don't speak many words of Sinhalese, but when I'm stuck somewhere, I will have to take a 3-wheeler. And I know the first, I don't understand what they are saying, but I know that they're saying, where do you want to go? And I will say, Pitakorte. And they'll say, huh? I say, Pitakorte. Huh? I say, Pitakorte? Huh? See, how many Pitakortes can there be? Now, my wife says, don't say it. You don't know how to say it. They can't understand what is Pitakorte. You have to say it like this. And she says exactly the same as what I said. I said, well, listen, I got all these people that make so many mistakes in their pronunciation, and I can quickly work out what they are trying to say. I make one small mistake, and the whole of Sri Lanka is confused. It is unbelievable. Pitakorte. Now the guy must know, I think he means this, you know, and they can say, is it the Pitakorte near this Handia or this? And I will say yes. But you see, just one small pronunciation mistake and nobody can understand. And that is because I am using English sounds to speak Sinhalese. And that is wrong. It is my fault, not their fault, and I take the responsibility. And also, when I pronounce one or two words, a lot of Sri Lankan people, they laugh, they giggle, they have fun. And the first words I learned in Sinhalese is Mata Sinhala Bear. That's what I learned. So whenever they say something to me, Mata Sinhala Bear. Sometimes they look at me and they say, Sinhala Bear? Like that, because I look like a more Sri Lankan than a lot of other people do. So, but the thing is, they laugh when I say it. Why? Horrible words, the horrible pronunciation. I can accept it. That's fine. Next time somebody speaks English with a horrible little accent, I will be rolling on the floor, giggling my head up. You see? I don't do it. Why? because I'm a teacher, that's why. But most people are not teachers. When people try to speak English, I know, no, this is what he means, this is what he's trying to say. So we are used to working that out, which is not good. And now, what should we do about this? Nothing. What's wrong with that? If I make a small mistake, or if somebody makes a mistake in the pronunciation, what difference does it make? Life still goes on. We can understand. Remember, it's all about communication, the language, not sounding like Queen Elizabeth. Your job is not to sound like Queen Elizabeth, but your job is to improve the pronunciation so that there is no confusion. That is the whole purpose. Now, if you want to develop the accent and the pronunciation, fine, I'll be doing all of those things. But that is only because you want to do them, not because it's necessary. I say that we do not pronounce words incorrectly so that you are creating a new word. So when I catch these three-wheelers, from now on, I'm going to just write it in English and give it to them. I hope that works. We'll be taking a look at all of these aspects, and we do them very, very quickly. Where does it leave us in grammar? What do we do? Well, you don't need to worry. I've given you everything that you need in grammar. Over the following 3 weeks, the modules we have, I will give you every single thing that you need for the rest of your life for grammar. And you can develop it very, very fast. Let me tell you now, whenever I take a class on the first module, I always say these words at the end. There will be some of you who will be practicing these steps and clapping. There will be some who will not be doing those things. Why? It seems a little bit silly, it seems pointless. I'll just practice on my fingers. That's fine. Those that practice these exercises on the fourth module, they will be the ones who have a little smile on their face. Why? Because those things that we practice afterwards, they become a little bit more difficult. And if you have this sort of technique in your mouth, then those modules will be very, very valuable. And every time I come to the fourth module, which is the closing module, I always see one or two depressed faces, and I say, just go and practice it for 4 weeks, and then I will talk to you. And then they go and do it. I urge you, I beg you to try this out. Why? I have been doing this for almost 18 years with massive, massive success. I have a wonderful reputation in Iran, in India, in China, in Taiwan, Australia, UK. I've been, if you Google some of the magazines, you'll find me there. My art of teaching and the way that I do it, I've won so many accolades and prizes. I would like you to take full advantage of what I have to teach you and take advantage. And it's only 3 weeks. I guarantee you, if you don't make a massive improvement, you can come and talk to me about it. It's a wonderful way to improve your pronunciation on a grammar module. I do not look at nouns and adjectives and I will teach them about this or what this is. I think that's BS. I think all of those things are incorporated in the language structure. The language structure is about sentences. Develop your speaking language. Develop the sentences, the ones that we use every day, the ones that we use in the offices, the ones that we hear in the news, the ones that we read about, the ones that our seniors where we work in the corporate sector, the ones that they use, the ones that when the people are sitting down to have meeting, those sentences. Develop those things that we need on a day-to-day basis. Don't get stuck with present, past, participle, infinitives. Even I don't know what they mean, and you really will be wasting your time if you did that. You can do it, by all means, but it won't work. What will work? This stupid thing will work. This will improve your fluency. This will improve your sentences, this will improve your grammar, and this will improve your accent and the way that you speak, the way that you think logically. In the third module, we'll be looking at your sentences, and I will show you how to just get up and talk about any subject. Why? because you know this. We'll be looking at how sentences are connected. And that shows us how we are able to think in the English language. And then the final module, we'll be looking at 1 or 2 speech presentations and how to evaluate them. So that by the end of module 4, you will not need anybody else as a teacher of grammar again. Everything you need will be given to you. Everything you actually need, it will just go on one piece of paper. That's all you need for English grammar. It really is that simple. All you have to do is just try what I ask you to do once,